it was interesting, wasn't it, talking about politicians' voices and their pitch range yesterday. Details, obviously, yesterday in the podcast, also in yesterday's show notes as well. We'll talk about another politician tomorrow. Wonder if you can guess which one. Let's talk about lowering your pitch today on Get a Better Broadcast Podcast and Video Voice. Now, your register is not only dictated by the speed your vocal folds vibrate, but also how taut they are. So it stands to reason that to lower your register, your folds need to be less taut. They can't be relaxed by themselves, but only with the rest of the body. So, as I've said before, less stress, better posture and breathing will all contribute to a more relaxed state overall, and so slightly lower the pitch of your voice, any voice. Now, refer back to that 1 to 10 range I mentioned a few days ago. Some people seat their pitch in the lower half of that range. There may naturally be a 5, but they force themselves to start at 4 or 3. And they do this in the belief that it makes them sound more masculine, authoritative, or believable, like I'm doing now. But as we saw before, if you start too low for an ordinary story or an ordinary presentation, an ordinary read, then you need to inject a bit of gravitas for a more serious one. What do you do then? You're already talking low, and then you need to put in a bit more gravitas. So how do you get lower still? You've got nowhere to go, yeah? And as we saw earlier on, or heard earlier on, when we looked at resonance, the sound of your voice is partly determined by the structure within which it moves. The sound of a tuba is different from the sound of a piccolo, and a lot of your body is a resonator for your voice. I've seen it described like this. The head is like a smaller speaker for high frequencies. Your chest is like a subwoofer for the mids and the lows. Tuba and piccolo reference? Same pitch, but a different sound. Yeah? A slightly deeper voice can be obtained, if you want one, by having more of a chest sound, and that's done by lowering the position of your larynx, which is done with the same movement as happens when you yawn. And famously, former UK Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher lowered her voice while in office to give herself more gravitas, and we link to that in our show notes today. More articles on that. I'm Peter Stewart. Thank you for the loan of your ears. Leave me a review. Promote me to your colleagues if they want to get more on how to get a better broadcast, podcast and video voice. From London, I'm Peter Stewart.